Okay, going live for day 3 of the Reclaim Your Routine 3-day free.
I am live, but I don't see myself. All right, if you can see and hear me. Oh, yep, I see and hear me. Okay. Let me just double check. Testing, testing. Uh-oh. Oh, testing, testing. Woohoo! Uh-oh. All right. Who's here? Talk to me. All right. Who's here? Talk to me. All right. It is exactly noon. I'm so grateful when technology is on my side. Present. Woo! All right, I got a thumbs up. Yay, I got an eyeball. Okay, I think we are live. You should be able to see and hear me. So if you can, just give me a little indication in the chat if awesome. Hi, Joanne. I'm so glad you're here. All right, we're going to jump right in. I have a feeling today will take our full 30 minutes. I'm really excited about today. Today is the most powerful day because we're putting everything that we've talked about so far into action. Okay, here we go. So, a little recap. This is a 3-day workshop. If you're just now catching day 3, I definitely recommend go back and listen to day 1 and day 2 because they're meant to go in order. We have really talked about this concept of taking control of our health and fitness in this stage of life that we're in, this amazing stage of life that we're in, what by breaking through roadblocks, setting clear and attainable goals, and building habits that fit into our life and become part of who we are. Okay, just a little housekeeping to just go over again. You want to register so that you get the worksheet that kind of walks you through everything that we've learned. You'll also get the replay after each day. So if you haven't, for some reason, gotten those, please let me know. But you should have gotten an email with the recap and the homework every single day of the 3-day training. Today is our final day. We're going live 30 minutes each day. You've got optional homework. You have the ability to win prizes just for participating, but it also kind of ups the ante on holding you accountable and actually getting into action. And then I would love it if you guys commented on the Facebook thread. And if you're catching the replay, just write the word replay because otherwise Facebook keeps that information. They don't let me know who's watching. Kind of a pain, but if you can just tell me replay, that would really help. Okay. So, to recap, day 1, we talked about setting the foundation for sustainable change. We talked about this concept of a domino goal, this goal that if you were to focus just on that, it would have a ripple effect in the rest of your life. And then we also talked about identifying roadblocks that are getting in your way. All of us have roadblocks on the way to success. And if we don't think about them or we don't identify them, they will stay as roadblocks. But if we can first identify them and then come up with a plan to overcome them, we can push past our roadblocks And then we can move on to the phases of thriving that we talked about. And that first one is learning. What do we need to learn? What skills are we lacking in order to become successful in achieving that domino goal? And then we talked about the five, I think, stages of thriving. And we have to go through all of those stages before we get to that establishment of an actual habit, a routine that is just part of who we are. On day 2, we talked about creating lasting change. We talked about this concept of if you're operating from an energy behind, like, what is that driving force behind reaching your goal? Is it a force of fear or is it a force of love? And then we talked about how the small changes that we're making need to be really big priorities. So drinking a glass of water several times a day seems like doesn't make a difference, but it really truly does. And those small changes can add up to make really big shifts overall in our life. We also talked about this concept of measuring what matters to you. And this is a really personal thing. Some people really thrive with measuring and tracking, and other people do the opposite. It's almost like, they want to not not have to do that extra step of writing it down or checking off a box or using an app. So you really just need to do some introspection, figure out, does measuring help you? And if so, what matters most and what makes it worthwhile for you to measure? And then finally, we talked about this concept of the 3 C's. So Jay Shetty says, if you're struggling to reach your goals, it's often because you're missing one or more of these elements, either coaching, consistency, or community. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments from days 1 and 2. What mindset shift or concept resonated the most with you, especially considering where you are today in this stage of life that you're in? All right, today, day 3 is all about getting into action. So here's what we're going to talk about today: why routines matter. So the title of this training is Reclaim Your Routine. That routine is the really, really important part. We're going to talk about more about that today. We'll also go over a midlife mindset shift. We'll talk about creating your action plan and then going over next steps, what to do. Okay, why are routines key to thriving in midlife? So a routine is a series of actions that you regularly follow. It's a habit that is ingrained into your day. Unlike motivation, which fluctuates, it is unreliable. A routine is automatic, something you do simply because it's part of who you are. So key, who you are. So it's not something that I have to do. It's not something that I'm every day like frustrated by. It's just what you do because it has become part of your identity. All of us have routines already. It's funny because I was just talking to a client yesterday and she's like, I really need a nighttime routine. And I'm like, well, but you already have one. It might not include the things that you want currently, but you already have a routine. We are all creatures of habit. So we have routine things that we do without really realizing it. When we become intentional with our routine and we become intentional with the behaviors and the actions that we know are in alignment with who we want to be, that's when that routine becomes something that is intentional versus just something that over time has just turned out to be what you kind of do. Okay. Why does a routine matter for us, for women in midlife? So midlife is such a unique season where time feels both scarce and precious, where we're balancing career and family and aging parents and personal health, all the things. Without intentional routines, daily life defaults to serving others, and self-care takes a backseat. But when we build a strong routine, we shift from reacting to life to owning our time and energy. Many women are just stuck in that survival or that coasting mode where they start their routines, but then they abandon them when life gets busy or life gets tough or challenging or stressful. When you're in survival mode, you're inconsistent and you're waiting for motivation. I would love to hear in the comments, is that something that you can relate to? Have you ever been in survival mode where you're like, oh my gosh, I know I should do this, but I just don't even feel motivated. I just don't even have the bandwidth for it right now. Or you're in coasting mode where you're making small efforts, but there is no deep driving force. There is no commitment. We have to push through and get to, remember the stages of getting to thriving, we have to push through to that perform and then that struggle phase. And again, it's been so cool in the homework to really hear which phases you guys are in, and coach you through that. Like I'm really excited today after this is over. I'm going to get in there and be, individually sending you feedback on your forms that you have sent in, your homework forms so far, because I want to acknowledge like you're in that struggle phase. It's hard, but it is so, so worth it to push through, because when you get past the struggle phase, that's when you get to thriving. And I don't know how long it's going to take for you. Everybody is different, but we cannot skip the perform and the struggle phase. So the perform is when you're taking action consistently and you're following through with your habits. It's just like the daily sort of the ho hum. It's like, okay, here we go again. Another workout, another walk, another glass of water, another serving of protein, right? It's just kind of like the monotony. Once you get through the perform phase, this is when adversity hits. So this is when you get sick or your family member gets sick or you are dealing with a lot of stress or everybody is needing you. You're pulled in 1,000 directions. Maybe you go on a trip and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I kind of forgot about my my habits that I was working on. When you push through the adversity, and it might look different. Like maybe your original plan is to lift weights 3 days a week and you have an adversity, illness or work or whatever. And maybe one week you only really get one weightlifting, session in. Even if you only get one, even if it looks different, but you're still showing up, even if it's a plan B, you're still going to get through that struggle phase and eventually hit that thrive phase. The struggle phase is where routine becomes real. This is the stage where most people give up. But if you push through, this is where you solidify the habit for life. Struggle doesn't mean failure. It means adapting and pivoting and proving to yourself that your health remains a priority no matter what. So here's some examples. You plan to work out for 45 minutes, but today you only have 15. An option would be to be like, why, what's 15 minutes? Why does that make a difference? I'm just going to forget it and not do it today. The big difference here is the mental. If you show up for yourself, you prove for yourself, you do what you say you're going to do, you're building self-trust. And even if it's only 15 minutes, it's still part of your identity. You're creating that identity. So you still do even a small amount. Or you're traveling, and one option would be like, I'm traveling. So it's margaritas and nachos the whole time I'm gone. Or you're traveling and you're like, heck yes, I'm going to have a margarita here and there, but I'm also going to move my body. I'm also going to bring my water bottle and make sure I drink the whole dang thing so I don't get hydrated. And I'm going to add chicken to my nachos, right? So you're still saying like these things are so important to me that they go with me even when I travel. And then finally, you're sick. So you could just be like, I can't do anything. I'm sick. So like everything is out the window. And sometimes you are that sick and you can't do anything. But other times you could say, I'm going to go for a walk today. I'm definitely not, I don't have the energy to lift weights, but I'm just going to get outside, breathe some fresh air, and I'm going to have a healthy snack because that is part of who I am. I hope that's helpful, you guys. When your routine becomes part of not just a to-do list, but your identity, that's when you are thriving. So a true routine isn't something that you have to think about. It is just ingrained in who you are. So for example, I'm guessing most of us brush our teeth. And I'm guessing we don't think about it. Like when you wake up, you have morning breath, you brush your teeth. It's just who you are. Like you're not going to leave the house without brushing your teeth, I hope. And eventually, I promise that when you focus on, again, just that one goal, that one domino goal, and it becomes something that is a non-negotiable for you, it will become like this. It isn't just the plan to follow the plan for a few weeks. It is to become the person who prioritizes their health automatically and no matter what. Okay, so when we think of the word midlife, hi Carla, welcome. The number one, like if you type in midlife into Google, the number one thing that comes after it is crisis. And a lot of other people in the wellness and fitness industry are really trying hard to change this narrative because there really is no reason that midlife needs to be a crisis. I don't know about you, but I feel like 40 is the new 20. I'm going to one of my closest, dearest friends' birthdays this weekend. She is almost 60. And I tell you what, I feel like we're on the same like playing field. It doesn't matter. 60 is the new 40. Who cares? It's just a number. But we up here, sometimes the story that we tell ourselves about this phase of life really does impact the way that we show up inside of it. Instead of a midlife crisis, what if we think of this as a midlife awakening, a time to reflect and recalibrate and reclaim our vitality? It is definitely not the beginning of the end. In fact, it's the beginning of the second half of our life. If you think of all the experiences you have had leading up to today, you have all of that and then some coming for you. That is a hopeful mindset. It is the start of a powerful and new chapter where wisdom meets energy and purpose meets possibility. Okay, so here's the mindset shift. Midlife is a time where we start to notice our body, the changes in our body, some good, some bad. Perhaps a slower metabolism, less energy, increased aches and pains. Our body just kind of looks different than it used to. But at the same time, we see our parents and our older loved ones experiencing even more significant effects of aging. And unlike when we were in our teens and 20s and even early 30s, like we would see that and it would be like, oh, it's almost like you couldn't even imagine yourself in that stage. And so you felt somewhat invincible. But now we have the wisdom and the experience enough to be like, oh, yeah, that's coming for me. So we have this rare and invaluable clarity to the future. We're mature enough to look forward with an understanding of what's at stake, and we can recognize the patterns and the consequences of our choices that we have made, and then what we've observed our loved ones, those that helped and served them, and those that did not. And yet we're still young enough to make impactful changes today that is going to make a huge impact on where we are tomorrow. So we're going to step into this proactive mindset, reclaiming our vitality and just really redefining what aging looks like to us. And this is where the magic lies. We have the wisdom to know better, and we still have the time and energy to do better. So this is where the action plan comes in today. And this is what is included in your homework today. It is literally just filling out this form, but I really want you to take this seriously and think about it as you go through. So that domino goal is the one thing that if you were to get a hold of that one thing, whether it's lifting weights, prioritizing protein, getting outside for walks, being more mindful, doing some food prep, whatever it is, figuring out that one thing, getting more sleep, right? Figuring out that one thing, and then figuring out the roadblocks that are standing in the way right now. And in your homework, it says, in order to achieve this goal in 2025, I will overcome these roadblocks, blank by blank. So it's like, I will overcome the roadblock of not having enough time by creating little pockets of time throughout my day, or I will overcome the roadblock of not having support by joining an accountability group or whatever. So it's like, here's the roadblock and here's my suggested way to overcome it. And if you don't know, please ask me because I have all kinds of ideas for you. In order to be successful, I need to adopt these skills. And I know sometimes it's like, well, I don't really know. What are the skills that I need? And that's where I'm here. So, like, when you're filling out the homework form, if you don't know, it is really okay to say, I don't know what skills I'm lacking. And then myself, as a coach, can come in and be like, oh, what about this? Have you thought about this? Here's some resources. Check my website, whatever. Like, there's tons of stuff out there to help you. And then you already did all this stuff. So this should be repeat as we're kind of going through this. But when you think about like that stage that you're currently at in the thriving, whether you're just in the learning stage or the experimenting or the performing, or you're in that struggle phase, it just helps you there to set expectations, realistic expectations of how long it's going to take to achieve your goal. If you're just now learning the skills that you need to be successful at achieving your goal, it might take you a little while. But if you're just in struggle mode right now, if you're on that struggle bus, you don't have that much further to go. You just got to push past. We talked about the energy. So you're going to really work on that fear versus love concept. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't know. Is it fear? Is it love? Is it a combination? And I just really encourage you to spend some time thinking through this and then really journaling it, writing it down, thinking about it, cultivating that self compassion, and also reframing any of that negative self-talk, that inner dialogue that comes from the fear place. And remember that we get one body, we get one life. We can either fight against it and be like, midlife sucks, or we can say like, this is the body that I get, so I might as well make the most of it. And what can I do to love myself through this process? And then the 20% effort would yield 80% results is blank. And so in the example in your homework, I gave exact examples and I used food prep as an option. Actually, I was very specific and I said, if my domino goal would be just making my lunch the night before so that when I wake up the next morning and I leave the house, I'll have my healthy breakfast before I leave and I'll take my lunch with me. That would be the 20% effort that would yield that 80% result. And next, you're just going to decide, yes, I'm going to track, or no, I'm going to track. And if it's yes, how and what will you track? And then if it's no, how can you still pay attention to how your body and your mind are either improving or staying the same if you're not tracking? It's really, really important that we practice this ability to be objective about our progress. Because without a tracker, sometimes it's difficult to do that. But I understand that's stressful for a lot of people to track. And so, therefore, process based goals or just like going introspective, how do I feel, is really, really important. Okay. If you are still struggling to reach your goals, it's often because you're missing one of these elements we talked about: coaching, consistency, and community. So in your homework, it will say, I am missing the blank of the three C's. And if it's more than one, feel free to write more than one. Most of us are missing one of these elements. And so I'm going to just give you a quick example for myself. And I'm going to use the business side of me because fitness, nutrition, that comes naturally. I have been like in the thriving stage of that for like a long time because I went through all the different stages at an earlier time in my life. And now I'm to the point where it's just part of my identity. However, with my business, I was struggling with all three. Consistency. Okay, so I have had a business for a really long time, but running a business requires me to show up with consistency in every aspect of my business, whether it's just I am my business. So whether it's just myself showing up with energy or showing up on social media and sharing, like if nobody knows that I have what I have to offer, they can't take advantage of it. So it's really, really important. If I want to live out my passion and my mission, I got to tell people about it, right? And so that was huge for me. So the consistency piece, I was lacking. The community piece, I was like praying for other women who are also running small businesses and having the struggles that I have. And it was just so like, I didn't realize that I needed it because I have a lot of social in my life. I like to create a lot of opportunities to hang out with other women all the time. But I only know a handful personally of other women who are in a similar stage or phase of business that I'm in. And it was sort of lonely and isolating to be like, does anybody else have this struggle in the world? And then finally, I knew I was missing coaching. I just didn't know how important it was. So I was missing all three. So when I realized that there was an option out there for me to have all of this, I got a coach and she comes along with a community. And I now have created an amazing amount of consistency in my business. And I just wish I would have started earlier. So that's just a personal example. But I think you guys can take that and realize for yourself with fitness and nutrition and mindset, what are you missing out of those three C's? Do you feel like you have all the pieces in place right now? And if not, what would it mean if you had them? What would it mean for your success if you did have them? And so this is where I'm super excited to share with you what's coming. I do have the answer to all of this if you're open to it. So my signature group coaching program, the Midlife Glow Up, was designed specifically to address all the needs that we have gone over the past few days. It's made for women in midlife, those who are ready to take control of their habits and create sustainable change. So it has coaching. So you have expert guidance from me tailored to you in this stage of life. It has a community. So it's a group of other women on the same journey. Last time we did this, the ages ranged from early 40s to mid 60s. I do have women in my world who are in their mid 70s. So it really, as long as you're in that range somewhere, you would feel at home inside of this group. And then consistency. following a clear, actionable plan with regular check-ins is super helpful when you're creating that consistency. And then finally, the accountability is probably the number one thing that I would say is what women are lacking right now because they feel like they're not necessarily supported and they definitely don't feel motivated. But when you have that accountability built in, you get it. So if you are tired of feeling stuck, and exhausted, or if there's not time for you, that's how my clients felt last time when I ran the Glow Up. Many of us struggle with finding time for ourselves, knowing how to eat healthier without overcomplicating the process. We want to feel strong and energized instead of drained and depleted all the time. So, what if you could turn those struggles, similar ones, to the ones I just went over into wins, just like my clients did. So coming, it says January. We technically start February 3rd, but I do open up the group itself a few days beforehand so you can start to meet each other. And I'm excited to welcome Amanda and Kelly and Pauline and Lotta and Heather and Nora. And if you are curious at all, I would love to see if this might be a good fit for you as well. So I'm going to share just a few client wins from the past program. Hi, Julie. Nice to see you. Dory says, I'm most proud of the fact that even with a really tough stretch at work, I have maintained my workout routine and continued to eat healthy meals. Dory has kicked booty since meeting me and working with me, but the midlife glow up was definitely a time where she saw huge results. Amanda says, I'm way more consistent with working out, particularly with weights. She turned 50 during our program, and she said she was way more positive about turning 50 than if she hadn't been in the group. Before the program, she was feeling a little bit down about lost time, but looking at midlife as a reinvention helped empower her. And then Mary says, during the last round, that was her first 4 weeks of empty nesthood. So there were so many changes in her life, but she was able to stay consistent with her workouts, even when she was traveling. And then she would get right back on track when she returned. She also carved out time for our group calls, and then she also spent time meal planning. The other thing that she did was really get a hold of navigating the grocery store, which I know is a huge struggle point for a lot of people. Pauline said, I learned that motivation is not important and that you can do things even when you're not motivated. Commitments are what get things done. Knowing this difference has helped me with the fitness part of my journey. And then finally, Melinda had a huge transformation. So she says, I recommend the Glow Up program. It's helped me regain focus after a challenging year. She rediscovered the importance of prioritizing her well being. She changed her nutrition habits. She did a lot of meal prepping, actually, and she was ensuring that she was getting enough protein each day. So she works from home, and she was like, at the first, she's like, I don't need to food prep. Like, I just work at home. And I'm like, I would love for you to try just for a couple of weeks, because I think the last thing you want to do is go to your kitchen and cook when all you have is like a 30-minute or an hour lunch break, right? She said the program and Jen's encouraging guidance inspired me to keep going each week. The fantastic tips and recipes kept me motivated. She did celebrate her wins, both big and small. That's a huge part of the program. And as a result, she lost over 10 pounds and she successfully maintained her new habits. So inside the program, what do you get? So we do live weekly group coaching calls. You get obviously the community. And then the program hub is what I poured my heart and soul into. I'll go over that in just a moment. You do get a goal planning worksheet, weekly community check-ins, and then 3 in-depth check-in forms where I'm actually giving you feedback on every single step of the process. You have the option to choose between move and nourish. So this is where that domino goal comes in. Instead of saying, I'm going to work on everything, we say, nope, you're going to focus on one aspect, one thing. So maybe it's lifting weights, maybe it's prepping some food, maybe it's increasing protein. Whatever it is, you're going to focus on your goal and everybody else is focusing on their own goals, but we come together to support each other. So inside the move category, you're getting a progressive fitness plan. It is guided workouts from me. I'm on a video, you are watching the video and you're checking it off as you go. You get to choose your level. So if you're just starting or just starting back into your routine, you'll be level 1. Level 2 is designed for those with more experience. And each of the workout plans, you will get a new set of workouts that drop every Monday, and they're always different. So you get to really progress and be inspired and not have to like worry about, am I going to have to do the same thing over and over again? Because that's boring. You have the ability to track if you want, if that works for you. Workouts change up frequently between variety and progression. You get video tutorials for each exercise. There's modifications in case you have injuries or limitations. You get mindset coaching. So inside your program hub, there are videos for each category that you can click and watch anytime you need a little pick me up. And then also equipment recommendations if you're setting up your home gym. Or on the Nourish side, you get a fully customizable plan based on your preferences. And then you get a system to track nutrition if that works for you. Food prep videos. So there are, I don't know how many, probably like 50 videos in there right now. And they're like, here's me making protein pancakes. Here's how to do it. Here's the recipe. So it's like step by step. You can pause me as you're working through it and then play me. You'll get macronutrient tutorials to make sure you're hitting your protein goals. Again, mindset coaching, food prep tutorials, like a step-by-step video lesson to help you food prep like a pro, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I also go over grocery store tips and tricks and tools to navigate the grocery store. And this is for you regardless of whether you want to be vegan or pescatarian or you're doing intermittent fasting, doesn't really matter. We're going to make this work for you. Okay, so here's just a little example of what to expect from the Nourish category. So again, food prep videos, and obviously I'm not sped up like that. In the program hub, you would be able to hear me, and then see the video. And then with fitness, here we go, seated. So that's just an example, but you're actually getting me walking you through the video, walking you through the workout. They're simple and effective strength training with progressive fitness, meaning each week it's getting a little bit harder. And I also incorporate mobility, cardio, core, flexibility, balance, all the things that we need to make sure that we're thriving in midlife. It's not just straight up strength training. Our weekly live coaching calls have a theme every week. The calls are not mandatory by any means. They're also recorded and uploaded to your program hub every week, so you can catch those. If it doesn't work for you to listen in live, then you listen in on your way to work or the next day. But each mindset call or each call has like a mindset focus, and then we open it up for questions. And this is your opportunity to get live coaching from me with whatever you're struggling with, as well as connecting with the community. This is what our weekly live group coaching calls look like. And then just to let you guys know, we start February 3rd. I would absolutely love to have a conversation with anybody who is intrigued by this thought of like actually taking the next step and looking into the coaching, the community, and the consistency. And as a thank you for participating in this 3-day workshop, I'm offering an early enrollment bonus. So for anybody who decides to jump in before 10 p.m. on January 21st, so that's next Tuesday, you get $75 off tuition. As a reminder, I am offering prizes. The first place winner gets $125 off registration, and the second place winner gets $100 off registration. The only thing you got to do is just watch the videos, watch the replays or live, and then complete the homework so that you can be entered. I'm really excited to see your homework from day 3. This is where we're putting it all together. This is your opportunity to write it all out, place it somewhere where you can be reminded of why you're doing this and why it matters. And then if you would post an aha or a takeaway or a question inside the day 3 post inside the Facebook group. So it is my heartfelt thanks to you right now for showing up for yourself and for being part of this training, the Reclaim Your Routine. I hope you take what you've learned and use it to create a future filled with strength, energy, and confidence. If you're looking for support and accountability in a community that gets you, I'd love to continue this journey inside my coaching program. But if that is not for you, I'm still cheering for you every step of the way. And also, your feedback is really valuable to me. So please don't hesitate to share your thoughts on the training. Either send me a text, a DM. You can put it in the feedback, put it in the homework form if you want. And I am wishing you all the best in your path towards thriving in midlife. And as always, I'm here to answer questions and support you any way that I can. Thank you guys for being on.